think my shutting down the internet last week helped because this was a fast setup. Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Dylan Knows, the first in 2026. I'm your host, Dylan Lang. This is episode 640. I've seen Stranger Things in 2025. I have seen Stranger Things finale, one of the few shows now that I've watched every episode on. Had to wear my Hellfire Club shirt today instead of my other good Christmas shirt I got. I'll wear that next week's show. So we got that coming up. We got New Year's just coming up here. 4-day weekend is just about over. So that's a little depressing. We're getting back into probably the most depressing month of the year. One of them. January is pretty depressing. August is pretty depressing also, except for the exception of my son's birthday. But other than that, it's two of the more depressing months of the year. So you do what you do, you can what you do, and that's what we're doing. We're going to talk about some football. We'll talk about Easter. We'll talk about Valentine's Day. It's officially, Christmas is over. New Year's is over since it is January 3rd, 2026. I had my last Christmas with my mom today. So of the year, not my last ever. My last Christmas with my mom for the year. We're going to talk some music, Amsterdam, podcasting, Ghostbusters 2. Yeah, this is going to be great. I was writing this on my bed because my wife and daughter are playing Star Wars Trivial Pursuit, and so my handwriting is going to be a mess. So hey, here we are. So welcome to 2026. I'm going for a little brighter, hoping for a new start for after the shitty 2025 we had. So we'll see how long the light stays up here. And I'm going back to Razzleberry. I like Snowberry, but I had it the last 2 weeks, so I figured go back to one I know. Again, shrinkflation. This is much smaller than the one I used to have, but it's the same price. So, and the two I had just had watching have just disappeared. So I'm hopefully you come back. You were right at the beginning. So let us move on. I will talk about Stranger Things in detail a little bit later. Talk about some political stuff a little bit later. I actually got a bunch of comic book stuff here. So here's the first thing I think I want to talk about this week. If you've watched the show enough, you know that I like to try any new sodas or any new drinks that come out and give you my honest opinion on them. Well, not this week and not next week's episode, but the week after's episode. Hopefully I will have one for you. That would be the Martin Luther King weekend, I believe. No, it's not. The next weekend. Hold on. Today's the 3rd, so the 12th is 9 days from now. So 7 days. Yeah, so it won't be next week's episode, but it'll be the week after's episode. Canada Dry, who has the best ginger ale, hands down. Not Schweppes, not any of that BS. Though, to be fair, any ginger ale is pretty good, but Canada Dry, to me, is still the best. They will be releasing on January 12th, Canada Dry Strawberry Ginger Ale. Their flavored ginger ales are actually pretty decent, and a strawberry ginger ale might actually be pretty tasty because strawberry has that very distinct sort of flavor to it, and I think that'd be really cool. So I'm actually looking forward to that one. So we'll see what comes of that. I don't collect comics anymore, but I still like to talk about new comic stuff that's coming out. DC is currently going through this KO thing, which is weird. Don't get me started on it. I'm not even going to talk about it. I haven't even read any of them. But after it's finished, they're doing something called Level Up, where they're going to put a bunch of new books out on the stands with some more minor characters that haven't been seen for a while. So we're looking at a new Zatanna comic, which my wife is a huge Zatanna fan. I love Zatanna also. So there'll be a new comic of that. Legion is finally coming back with Joshua Williamson writing that. Shadow of the Bat is going to be almost a Legends of the Dark Knight type of Batman book. We're going to be a different creative team doing like 5-6 part story arcs. And Barbara Gordon can't read that. Reboot or something like that. It's not Batgirl because she's not Batgirl, but it's going to be Barbara Gordon doing some sort of investigative stuff here. So, gotta bear with me today. My handwriting is going to be atrocious. Before I talk about Stranger Things, let me just mention this real quick. They released the finale in movie theaters over December 31st and January 1st. And it has made $25 million, which to me is an amazing an amazing amount of money that they've made off of a 2-hour, 8-minute final episode of a TV series on Netflix. 25 million is a lot. Speaking of that, End of the Beginning by Dijo, whatever, is Joe Keery's band from Stranger Things, has #1 on iTunes 3 years after it came out because it's been used in a lot of Stranger Things memes and relook at some stuff and stuff like that. We'll see. Prince is also on Spotify, has been making streaming records also with his music appearing in the finale as well. So that's been pretty big for them. Sol Rodriguez and Lulu Saffron have been cast in a vampire giallo-inspired film called Illumin. Okay. The teaser trailer for the new Malcolm in the Middle reboot coming April 10th came out, and I'm not really interested in watching it, but hey, if you're a fan of it, looks good. I don't like Michael Bay, and now I have another reason not to like him. He apparently is in the Epstein files, so he's a pedophile, so wonderful. Destroy him, please. New Year's was okay. I worked New Year's Eve till about 3:00, which was stupid because UPS didn't even drop off anything. So the guy who does our receiving did not have to be there. And without receiving anything, nothing gets checked in, nothing gets sent to the back, nothing gets put into the system, and no orders get pulled. So we were just sort of standing around doing nothing. And I still was scanning stuff that the shippers were packing up, even though they weren't picking up on the 31st. It was people picked up yesterday on the 2nd. I took off Friday the 2nd because they didn't give us that day off. That's something else entirely. We talked about that already. So we stayed till 3:00, which was ridiculous, but whatever. We then went to my daughter went out to a party with some of her Scout friends. Excuse me. Then we, me, my wife, and my son went to the house of two of my wife's friends from Scouts also. Stayed there for about an hour and a half. It was a nice little visit. And then we went to my sister-in-law's house like we always do on New Year's Eve in Ellicott City. And it was just the kids. So it was my wife and her two sisters and all of their family. Well, not entirely their families. I was at my sister-in-law's house with her twins. And then my other sister-in-law and brother-in-law came with one of their kids and their girlfriend. Their daughter was at a party like Noelle was, or my daughter was, excuse me. And that was fine too. I was tired from working and just tired in general. And we had okay food and okay hors d'oeuvres. We got there a little late because we were at this other party, and it was fine. And we stayed till about 1:15, and then we left and came home. Went to bed about 2:30, and then New Year's Day we didn't do anything, which was nice. The second we didn't do anything. And then today I went to my mom's house for Christmas with her. And that was okay. Went to Crackpot, which is a place I haven't been to in ages, and it was way different than I remember it. Food was still pretty decent, though, and we stayed there till about 4:30, and then came back here and just been sort of chilling. And my wife and daughter have been playing Star Wars Trivial Pursuit and Boggle and other stuff, so they're being goofy. My son's in bed because he's tired. And then tomorrow, Sunday, is my last day of my 4-day weekend. It's the last day that my wife has off. She's been off all week, and it's the last day of Christmas break for my son. So it's going to be a bittersweet day for a lot of stuff. We have nothing going on till 8:20 p.m. I'll talk about that in a second. My daughter will still be home until January 25th. So Monday is coming fast and furious, and we go back to normal schedules and fun stuff like that. Scout meetings and just camping. And my wife's going winter camping next weekend. My son may or may not go. The Cubs are going next weekend, so he might go with them, but he might not because the weekend after that, Martin Luther King weekend, he's going camping again with his scout trip, and he doesn't like doing back-to-back camping trips, so we'll see what happens. And then end of January, we got to return my daughter to school. She has to go back by January 25th, and then the 31st to the 1st is another camping trip for my wife's troop. So getting back to normalcy again. January is one of the more depressing months of the year. Autumn, Thanksgiving, Halloween, Christmas, New Year's have all gone. It's cold. It's dark, despite the fact that it might be 62 degrees next Friday, but still, we'll see how that works out. But still, it's cold. It's dark. The trees are barren. There's Martin Luther King Day, but only schools closed for that and federal offices, which may not even happen anymore because we have a racist in the White House, but that's besides the point. So, and it's 31 days. So it's just like, oh. Now, the end of January, we have a lot of birthdays in the family. So that's an interesting part. And then we get into February, which is the shortest month of the year, which is decent because you have Valentine's Day and President's Day, and it's short. So you get through that, and then you hit March, which then is the beginning of meteorological spring. You turn the clocks ahead, so it gets lighter later. You have baseball starting up, St. Patrick's Day. We also have my wife's birthday and my father-in-law's birthday, and my sister's birthday. So we got, and the twins' birthday, I think, is also in March. So we got a lot of stuff coming in March. So once we get through January, it's okay. And then August, with the exception of my son's birthday, is just kind of a hot, sunny, awful month with no holidays on it except my son's birthday, and it's 31 days also, and it only starts picking up at the end of August when school goes back into session, and then football starts up again very soon after that in early September. We have Labor Day and stuff like that, and we get back into the fall system. So getting ahead of myself here, we still got a ways to go. Again, here's hoping that 2026 is much better than 2025. So that was what has been going on here. As usual, the 4-day weekend has been extraordinarily fast. We don't really have any other 4-day weekends rolling in here potentially in the next few months until Thanksgiving, because all the holidays this year are either Friday or Saturday. So you're going to get that 3-day weekend out of them. But that's the majority of stuff you're going to get, though. So, but that's one of the cool parts, though, is that these holidays are going to be on weekends and on Fridays and stuff like that. So it gets a little bit better there. So it's an interesting year. We have 3 Friday the 13th this year also. February, March, and November. So that's interesting. And yeah. So we will continue to see what's going on and hopefully survive. And we'll see what happens. But here we are. We're at the beginning, the end of the beginning from Dojo. Joe Keery's band. January. Speaking of football, the Baltimore Ravens. They're my team, but they are messed up this year. They started the season 1-5, and then they won like 3 or 4 straight. And then they lost a bunch, and then they won and they lost a bunch of close ones. So we could have had a chance to win the division without any help if we would have just won straight out. And we almost beat the Patriots, but we didn't do some stuff. And then we ended up beating the Green Bay Packers, which kept us alive. We just needed the Cleveland Browns to beat the Steelers to keep us alive, and they did. So we now play on Sunday night at 8:20 p.m. The Ravens Steelers in Pittsburgh. Winner takes all. The winner that wins the division gets the number 4 seed in the playoffs, and it's the last game of the NFL regular season. Playoffs start next weekend. So we're hoping that the Ravens are able to come through and actually make the playoffs again. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it goes. But this team really hasn't really shown much that makes me think we're going to go far, though Lamar was injured for last week's game, and he's come back stronger, it looks like. And Derrick Henry had a hell of a game last week, which is when you run him, good things happen. So hopefully it's his birthday tomorrow. It's also, he just found out that his wife is pregnant with twins. So they're going to be, they have a daughter already, I think. So they're going to have a new set of twins coming up later in the year. So good for him and good for his family. So he's probably going to have some extra motivation because she just found out she was pregnant. So he will want to win that Super Bowl, because by the time the kids are born, the regular season might be starting up again. Because remember, 9 months, roughly, probably born August, September. So we'll see what happens when the season starts. So congratulations to them. But here's something. NFL football is so weird. I've got 2 theories. One is going to be coming up, not theories, 2 weird mechanics. I'll have one come up later in the show, but I need to talk about this one because it affects the Ravens. The other one is the Seattle Seahawks. The Ravens' path to the Super Bowl this year could mirror the last time we went to the Super Bowl. We had to beat the Steelers in 2011 into 2012 to get the number 4 seed to even make it into the playoffs. We had a home playoff game against like the Texans or someone like that, and we beat them. And then we had to go to Denver to play Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos, who I think were the number 2 seed. And we won that game on the back of Joe Flacco and the Mile High Miracle. And we advanced to the AFC Championship game against Tom Brady and the Patriots in New England. And we beat them and went to the Super Bowl and played San Francisco. And we beat them in New Orleans, I think, or Miami or something like that. I think it was New Orleans. So flash forward to 2026. The Ravens win tomorrow against the Steelers. They will get the number 4 seed and a home playoff game. First week of the playoffs, probably against the Houston Texans, who are going to be the number 5 seed, probably. We win that one. There's the potential that we could play the Denver Broncos, who I think are the number 1 seed right now. The only way that would work is that if we are the lowest seeded team to win, and 2 would play 3. For that one. So that's, again, but the Broncos are there, and we very well could play them in the second round of the playoffs. And then if we beat the Broncos in Denver, we'll go to New England, because New England also has a potential, because they are in the playoffs also, and they will have a home game. They'll be the number 2 seed. They will have a home game also. We could play the New England Patriots. And one of the best teams in the NFC that's in the playoffs now is San Francisco. And we're actually playing at San Francisco's home stadium. So if the Ravens win against the Steelers, like they did in 2011, if they win their first playoff game against the Texans, which they did in 2012, if they have to go to Denver and they beat Denver like they did in 2012, they could have to go to New England, where they would play New England and beat them like they did in 2012. Go to the Super Bowl. If San Francisco makes their run also and wins their championship game, could be Ravens, 49ers again in the Super Bowl 14 years later. It's just a weird coincidence that all these teams are all set up to potentially have a similar playoff run like we did in 2012. And you got to remember also something else that is, get you to think about it. The Ravens have been sort of struggling in the month of December this year. They were struggling in December in 2011 also. And then Joe Flacco, just something turned on, and he had one of the greatest playoff performances in NFL history. I think only Joe Montana and like Kurt Warner or someone else, only one other quarterback had the same amount of stuff that he had in the 2012 playoff run. If Lamar goes on a streak like that, we'll see. So just something to think about. Got to get in, though. We got to win to get in. Sunday Night Football. All right. Anniversary real quick. Deep Space Nine debuted 33 years ago this week. I was going to try to make this longer, but it's getting late. I'm getting tired, and I don't want to talk too much about it. But I just want to say, that the series finale of Stranger Things, season 5, or the whole series, was outstanding. It is not the popular trend apparently online. Everybody thought it was kind of a weak, lousy finale. Some people think that. The majority of people I've been seeing on threads have agreed that it is one of the best finales that they've ever seen. 2 hours, 8 minutes. It wrapped up pretty much everything. There are some unanswered questions, but there are a couple of spinoffs coming. We'll talk about that a little later in the show. But I myself, I absolutely adored this season. Everybody seems to say it was slow, plotting, wasn't that exciting. I love this season. I love this season mostly because everybody was together. There were separations in groups, but they were all sort of within the same area, though. And it was a very ticking clock sort of thing. I think the whole season only lasted about 3 days of the events that happened. But just an amazing run, a fantastic finale, and then the Return of the King ending, where for like the last 40 minutes of the episode, it was just showing what happened to the Stranger Things cast members or their characters. Spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it yet, it came out December 31st, and here we are, January 3rd. Obviously, time, life, holidays, stuff like that gets in the way. So I've been talking about more freely, but I'm going to be doing some spoilers now. So if you have not watched it yet, you can mute me, and I'll do like sort of when I'm not ready to stop talking about that. So start now. Sorry, I muted myself. So, no, I didn't. I was acting. I loved the finale of all the characters. Everybody survived. The only death we had was Callie, who was 8, but she was expected to die because she was really had a death wish and was the only one that really wanted to do anything that really had anything to do with that. But none of the the major characters died, though there is some ambiguity, what the fuck? Ambiguity, dumbass, about Eleven's survival. We'll cover that in a second, but yeah, so everyone did it. Max and Jesus, Lucas and Max end up together, and they were going strong, and you could tell there was some jam in there, but we're not going to get into that. Dustin was the valedictorian, and at his valedictorian speech, he pulled an Eddie, because Eddie said, "This is what I would do when I'm going to graduate." He did exactly what Eddie said he was going to do, but Eddie never got a chance to graduate because he passed away. Noah Schnapp's character. My mind is just a blank right now. He's the I watched the show. I just when you know how I am when I get into these scenarios, I can't Will, that's right, Will the Wise. Um, Will, after his coming out sequence, ended up going to university and seemed to be, they showed him at a bar meeting up with a guy. So I'm sure there was probably some healthy stuff there. Let's see. Dustin, Lucas, Mike, we'll talk about in a second. Those are the big four. And then Steve survived also and became the baseball coach for the high school, or for the high school, I think, in the middle school, one of those two, and also the sex ed teacher. And we are thinking that he probably was also a basketball coach also. And he stayed in Hawkins and has been trying to find the right woman and really hasn't yet. Robin, I think she went to university also, and she has a new group of friends. We think her and Vicky broke up. Jonathan went to NYU to make films, so he's making movies. And Nancy went to Emerson, but she dropped out when she got a job working at a newspaper up there, the Boston Globe or something like that. The four of them said they were going to meet once a month together, but we know it's not going to happen. And then Mike, L11, looked like she sacrificed herself after they defeated Vecna. So let's back up a little bit. So Steve's plan almost worked, but there was no rift that the tower was going to go through, so they had to figure out another way to get up there, and they eventually were able to. Once the kids escaped and stopped his plan, something like that, so they were able to make their way up into the abyss and take on the Mind Flayer, which was the main bad guy who was being controlled by Vecna. And the kids they were giving him life as well. They were able to defeat him in one of the great sequences. And then they were going to blow up the Inside Out. And it looked like 11 was going to be able to survive. But once they got back from the abyss and came out of the Inside Out, the military was waiting for them and arrested all of them. But 11 had somehow moved from the van she was in very quickly to the rift into the Inside Out. Even though the disruptors that disrupt her powers were going, she was able to move faster, disappear, whatever. And then they were just killing time till the bomb went off that they said that was going to blow up the Inside Out. So the bomb blew up the Inside Out, and 11 sacrificed herself to close the rift and heal and close off any chance to get back to the Inside Out. It flashed forward 18 months later, and we talked about all the stuff that all the other characters did. Hopper and Joyce got engaged, and they're going to move to Montauk, which was an inside Easter egg joke, because the original pitch for the show was called Montauk, because there was similar stuff that was going on in Hawkins that actually really did happen in Montauk. So that was kind of cool too, that they were going to move up there, and she accepted his proposal. But Blake's been suffering because Elle and him had a conversation on the mental plane. Then she used her powers to say goodbye to him before it exploded. But there was some weird things going on, is that if the disruptors were going on, how could she use her powers to do that? And then she just sort of disappeared. She didn't like explode into pieces. She just sort of disappeared. So Mike and his friends did one last D&D campaign. And after they finished, Mike sort of did an epilogue for all the characters, which was basically epilogue for his friends. And then he talked about what he believes happened with 11, which was that Callie, even though she had what appeared to be a mortal wound, she could still use her mind powers, and her and 11 came up with a plan to make sure that, after 11 and Hopper had a heart-to-heart and Callie heard it, she thought that 11 should have a chance to live, but needed the military to think that she was dead. So they came up with this plan to have Callie project 11's body on the entrance to the rift as the rift was getting ready to explode. And then the military and all their friends when they saw her, thought that when the Inside Out exploded, that Elle died in the explosion, so the military would back off, and everybody thought she was dead. She could, move on with her life. What the idea was is that once they got to like the edge of the hole in the rift or whatever, 11 was able to disappear down one of the tunnels that led to the cabin. And Hopper always said, have a bag ready if you need to go at any minute. So she probably went back to the cabin through this tunnel. And while she was on her way from the tunnel going back to Hopper's cabin, had this conversation with Mike away from the disruptors and said goodbye, and went up, grabbed the pack, and then maybe potentially with Murray's help was able to disappear from Hawkins. So everybody already thinks she's dead. Military thinks she's dead. All her friends think she's dead, but in reality, she was smuggled out of the country to Iceland, to a location where there were the 3 waterfalls that she was talking about, that Mike was talking about, where they would go together after all this was over. So 11 went there just to kind of restart her life, and nobody would know she was there. She could not tell her friends because they were still probably being watched by the government, because the government just upped and left during that 18-month period, and no charges, nothing was brought against the Hawkins kids and Hopper and all that, even though they killed a bunch of soldiers. I think a lot of the stuff was illegal they were doing. And also, since it appeared to them that 11 was gone, they probably said there was no reason to be there, but they were probably still a little suspicious. So they're still under watch, but they weren't, if they had remained presence there to just see if they knew that everything was fake, then no one would say that it was fake. They would be known that they would get in trouble with the military. So the military left, maybe they would relax and make a mistake like 1, 2, 3 years later, and they find out where she is and go get her. But no one ever did. So the theory now is, do we believe? And one of the best scenes at the end of the show has all the friends saying we believe that that was what happened to 11, that she's actually still alive and in Iceland. And Mike became a writer and wrote science fiction, or wrote the game of Stranger Things to be played as a role-playing game. And then as he's leaving after everyone leaves the basement after their game, the next generation, Holly and what's his name, Derek, and some of the kids that survived from Vecna came down. They were going to get ready to play D&D. They were the next generation, and Mike watched the next generation start playing D&D down there. And then they walked up the steps and closed the door to the basement. That was the end of the episode. So I thought it was a very well done finale. I loved how it ended. I loved the season and the sequence where Joyce, Vecna's mortally wounded, but he's still kind of alive, and Joyce comes with an axe and tries to chop his head off. Took 11 whacks to do it, but every time she took a whack, the camera panned to one of the characters, and they showed the people who suffered, who died, friends of theirs who died, or Will suffering, or them suffering. So that he saw visions of Bob and Barb, and Will being, absolutely, tortured by the mind flayer, and Billy was in there, and just all the, and then Elle disappearing multiple times, and Hopper, just all the pain and suffering that they've undergone for the last 6 years. Actually, it's the last 4 years, 4 or 5 years. And it was every whack. It just gave everybody a chance to say, this is vengeance for what you did to our friends. I loved this finale. Screw the haters. I don't give a rat's ass. Everybody who's nitpicking here and there, just get a life, man. Just sit back and enjoy it. This show ending has affected me in a way that a show hasn't in a really long time, and I still don't know why. Because the way we did Stranger Things was, my wife and I, back in 2016, we heard about it, and back then the kids were still young. My daughter was 10, my son was like 7, 8, so they weren't interested in it at the time. But it had Winona Ryder, and it was getting a lot of good reviews when it first came out. So In 2016, my wife and I sat down and we watched the first season of Stranger Things, and we liked it a lot. And then we had to wait a year or so for season 2. And then season 2 happened, and we watched like the first 3 episodes of it, and then we stopped watching it at the sequence where Dustin discovers Dart in the garbage can. For whatever reason, we just stopped watching Stranger Things. Life happened, whatever. Flash forward to talk that the 4th season is set to debut on this time, and my daughter's a little bit interested in it now because this was past COVID, or it was during COVID, something like that. So we decided we should go back and rewatch all the Stranger Things this time with my daughter in tow, and also for us to catch up before season 4 came out. So we end up doing a rewatch of seasons 1, 2, and 3, having only seen season 1 and the first couple episodes of season 2. So seeing the rest of season 2 and all of season 3 was brand new for us, and we binged that. And then I think by that time, the first part of season 4 had come out. So we binged that, and we finished it in time so that we had to wait for the second part of season 4, watch that in real time, and then had to wait the 3 years for season 5. So we weren't there from the beginning. Well, we were there from the beginning, but we lost it in the middle and came back to it and did a binge watch of it. But for just whatever reason, I don't know what it is or whatever, this series finale, this episode, this season, and just the finale, I've been thinking about it the last few days. It's still lingering in my head, and I can't describe it. So very impressed by it, very happy with it. And we're done. So you can unmute me now. They'll highly recommend if you have not watched Stranger Things. It is now complete, so you can watch every episode without stopping. Chick-fil-A is entering the new year on Tuesday, the 5th, on Monday the 5th, because tomorrow's the 4th. That's right. On Monday the 5th, Chick-fil-A will be introducing Frosts and Floats to their menu. So you can now get the Frosts and Floats at Chick-fil-A, that they're going to have specialized ones made. Probably every month they'll have a different flavor one, sort of like what Sonic does. So good on Chick-fil-A to do that. So that's pretty decent. The first of 2 Mountain Lion stories, both of which take place in Colorado. So you got to think maybe it's the same mountain lion. But we'll do the second story a little later. But the first story, a mountain lion broke into a Colorado pet store, got high on catnip, and fell asleep in the toy aisle. And it has video of all that happening. So those are always funny when that stuff sort of happens. But yeah, there's another mountain lion story that's a lot worse than this one in Colorado that happened this week as well. So you got to believe that maybe doing the catnip messed up the mountain lion's head, and he ended up doing what we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Evangeline Lilly, the Wasp in the MCU, was in Lost as well. She has brain damage after a Hawaii accident. So hopefully she'll be recovering pretty good. Memory of a Killer trailer. That's Patrick Dempsey's new show coming on Fox. I think we got our first trailer for that. It's just about January 4th, so it's still January 3rd, Saturday, January 3rd, it's 11:59 p.m. New Year's has ended. Christmas has ended. Halloween, Thanksgiving, all that has ended. The fall has ended. We are now in the deep, dark winter. So why not talk about Easter? Easter colored cream Oreos will be debuting probably in March. Easter is early this year, early-ish. First weekend of April, so that's pretty decent. So we'll probably be seeing the Easter colored Oreos probably after Valentine's Day, probably. So sometime in February, probably. Is now officially January 4th, Sunday, January 4th. It is midnight. In 24 hours, we will know if the Baltimore Ravens are the division champions and the number 4 seed. And then we all go back to work, except for Noelle, my daughter. This day in space, or the previous day, the 3rd, this past Saturday, was perihelion day, which is when we're the closest to the sun. I know that's crazy to believe, but in the winter when it's colder, we are closer to the sun. And aphelion, which is in August, we are further away when we're warmer. So it doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't you be colder if you were further away from the sun and warmer when you're closer? But it's not. It's reversed because of the universe, like the world, universe, and everything. But we are the closest to the sun. Normally, we're 94 million miles away. We are now 1 million miles closer. We're about 93 million miles away from the sun right now. We also have the first full moon of the year is out there right now. It's the Wolf Moon, and it is the final, well, not the final, it's the first supermoon of 2026. The next two will not be until November and December, so you got a little ways to go. The supermoons always tend to be at the end of the year. So we had one this past November and December and now in January. So the next one after this one will be November. However, in May, we have a blue moon, first one in a few years. So there's 2 full moons in May. So that'd be kind of cool. So we got that going on. So that is what's happening right now. Sparkler candles on champagne bottles are suspected in the deadly Swiss ski resort fire that happened on New Year's. You're bound to have, sparks and stuff like that. It's bound to maybe cause issues like that. Speed, who I guess is some sort of podcaster or something like that, plans to race a live cheetah when he does his African streaming tour. I don't know how you're going to do that because cheetahs are not domesticated. And if you tried to race a cheetah, he'd probably try to eat you. Amsterdam has lost their 150-year-old chapel Vandalherk due to a massive fire that happened on New Year's as well. This is kind of weird. Frosted strawberry Pop-Tart heating pad will be available from Pop-Tarts, but it will not be strawberry scented. It just looks like a strawberry Pop-Tart that you heat up in the microwave, and that becomes your heating pad. Go figure. Oh, heart-shaped pasta and chicken nuggets are starting to make their way out there now, just in time for Valentine's Day. Earlier last year, Lay's Lay's ran their potato chip competition where they had 3 flavors, and you get to vote which one will become regular. The one that everyone expected to become the regular one did. Bacon grilled cheese as becoming a regular Lay's potato chip is actually pretty good. Hershey has new plush buddies. I don't know where you're going to be able to get them, either at Hershey Park or maybe get them online, but there's ones that look like Hershey's Kisses and Hershey Bars and Reese's and stuff like that. So it's pretty fun. So we talked about the mountain lion in Colorado who got high on catnip and then passed out in the toy aisle of the pet shop. Woman dies in suspected mountain lion attack. Colorado's first deadly encounter since 1999. So with 2 mountain lion stories in Colorado at the same time, and one sniffing the feline version of marijuana and crack. Maybe it's the same mountain lion that got into the pet store, went after and killed this one, which would be terrible. It's a terrible thing. I'm not trying to make a joke about it, but the fact that there were 2 mountain lion stories set in Colorado this week, coincidence, sure, maybe, but it's still kind of odd. This is also bound to happen. Also, Noah Schnapp, who plays Will, is set to do a Stranger Things rewatch podcast on Spotify. The first episode is debuting on today, actually, 1/4. So a little later today, check your Spotify. You'll get Noah Schnapp's first rewatch. Again, sort of like similar to the Northern Exposure one. He'll probably watch from season 1, episode 1, discuss it, behind the scenes stuff, maybe have special guests, his friends, cast members, crew members, directors, whatever on there. They'll discuss it. So could be interesting. February 4th, the Muppet Show One Shot will appear on Disney Plus. I highly recommend that everybody should watch that. I'm going to try to get my sister to say you have to watch this because they love the Muppets. If it does very well ratings wise, it could very well jumpstart a new Muppet Show series. This Muppet Show One Shot is going to have Sabrina Carpenter as their guest, and Seth Rogen is producing it, and potentially has been rumored that he will be appearing on the show as well. It might actually be voicing one of the Muppets as well. So we'll see, but that's due out February 4th. As it gets closer, I will keep mentioning it. I would highly recommend it if you like the Muppets and you want to have a new type of Muppet Show on February 4th, which I think is a Wednesday. Yeah, because February 1st is a Sunday. You watch this Muppet Show thing, or at least within the first week of it, so that the ratings look good and they do a new series. Really, 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 really good news here in Baltimore as we get a little local news. Baltimore, for the longest time, has always been known as a murder capital of the world, of the country, blah, blah, blah. Our homicides for many years ranged in the 300 to 400 homicide range in the city alone. This year, Baltimore, the murder capital of the United States, 133 homicides. Still not good, but still not 400 homicides. Down 300 plus homicides. This is the lowest it's been in a decade. Been under 200 in a decade. The first time it's been under 200 in a decade. It's, I don't know what it is. It's the new rules, regulations, new things going on in the city. But that's amazing. That's really, really good. And I'm really, really happy for Baltimore. 133 murders. Yes, still too much, but it's not 300 and 400. March 20th will be a big day for K-pop fans. BTS will be releasing their new album, supposedly. They've did sort of a teaser where they tease that date for something. So something's going to happen March 20th, but everybody believes it's going to be their first album because all the members of BTS are Korean, and they have to, part of the laws of Korea are you have to be in the service for about a year. So all the members of BTS had to be in the military service for a year. And once they all finish their military service, they can get back to their life and do things. So that's why BTS hasn't done anything in a few years. I think it's more than 1 year. It's a few years. But now they've all done their service. So a new album is pretty much guaranteed to probably debut March 20th. 5 days earlier, March 15th, will be the annual Oscar Awards. We should be getting the Oscar nominations end of the month sometime. I'll look that up. And then, of course, so that's the 15th. That's a Sunday. So the 14th of March, or it would be earlier on the 15th. No, it's usually going to be the 14th. So it would be on the Saturday because I want to get people at least a day to see the lists and stuff. Maybe I'll do it on Friday the 13th. That's a good idea. We'll do my annual Oscar show where I get my picks as well. I think I've got a pretty good idea of what I'm going to do. It depends on what's getting nominated for the Academy Awards. I think I have a pretty decent idea of what I think is going to win. So stay tuned for that, but that's not till March 13th, 14th, one of those. But March 15th is when the actual Oscars are. And remember, we only have about 3 more years before it reverts to YouTube. Nothing against you, YouTube, but I just think, it needs to be on regular network television or a streaming service. YouTube, yeah, you are a streaming service, but not everybody has one. I know it's your way of trying to get more people to get it, but I really don't want to pay another streamer service just to watch the Oscars. So we'll see. All right, here's again. Oh, an orange cat. Oh, yeah, an orange cat who was missing for weeks returns riding a horse. It's not the horse. No, they don't know, the people, their owners don't own a horse, but their cat was missing for weeks and came back on a horse. Okay. Tamsin Crawford joins the Assassin's Creed show. They're getting a good casting set up on that a little bit. There, I talked about this, the first Wonder Man teaser trailer for the new MCU show coming out at the end of January. So it's come out last year, but they moved it to January 27th, which is a Tuesday. And they're going to release all the episodes at once instead of doing it weekly. The first teaser trailer confused me a little bit because it was just it looked like just a guy who is trying to make it in Hollywood and making a film about Wonder Man, which is a superhero from the 1980s, and they're doing a reboot of it. And this guy's an actor who really, really needs the job because he hasn't acted anything, and he wants to be an actor and stuff like that. And it's just like, it just seems rather odd for a show set in the MCU. Does he have powers? What's going on with that? The new trailer came out this week. Now clarifies the story a little bit more. And I got to say, it's got me a little bit more excited about it now. I wasn't too intrigued by it back then. Now I'm pretty good about it. The show will follow Simon Williams, who is a up-and-coming actor who's trying to make it in Hollywood, who is mentored by Ben Kingsley's character from Iron Man 3 and Shang-Chi. Him, also an actor. And he is trying to get cast in a reboot of, as I said, a superhero named Wonder Man. And he really wants the job. Simon really, really wants the job. So he's working with Ben Kingsley's character to try to get his acting better so he can try to get this job. And one of the things they ask him is, your signing says that you do not have powers. And he signs it right away. We discover he actually does have powers, but because he wants this job so bad, he lied and signed that thing. We see that he does have powers, and he's trying to become an actor who has superpowers. I think that's a really good and then if something happens that he has discovered, it looks like he's on the run a lot, stuff like that. So damage control plays a big role in it. They're going to try to bring him in because they think he's dangerous. I think my interest in the show has now grown, and I'm looking forward to that very soon. Raven Steelers for the whole shebang. I already talked about that. All right. So Stranger Things, as I said, just had a big discussion about the finale episode. Don't you fret. I talked about this a couple weeks ago when it was announced, but they just re-announced it again. I'm going to re-announce it to you guys. Stranger Things will return as an animated series called Stranger Things Tales from 85. It is a spin-off that's animated that's set between seasons 2 and 3. Because remember, that ended. Season 2 was in Halloween. Season 3 was during the summer. So you're going to cover that sort of spring window between the end of season 2 and the beginning of season 3. Where the Mind Flayer was sort of still kind of hanging around a little bit, but was hiding in secret. And I don't know if the cast members have come back to voice the characters, or if some of them have, or if none of them have. I'm not sure. But it is an animated Stranger Things show. Could be interesting. And might be worth a check out, particularly if you are jonesing for some Stranger Things. No word yet on when in 2026 it will be released, but it will be released in 2026. The minute they announce the date, I will announce the date here on Dylan Knows, obviously. And then the Duffer Brothers did a interview with Variety, and in it they mentioned that they have a spin-off idea. Here's a little minor spoiler. In one sequence in the finale, Henry goes into the cave that has scared him through this whole season, and he rewatches his memory of being shot by a dude with a briefcase, and then he beats the living shit out of the guy with the briefcase and kills him, and then opens the briefcase. Inside is a stone that comes from like the mind flare, and it sucks into the hole that the bullet hole went into, and has turned Henry evil. The Duffers said that the spinoff will be a prequel to Stranger Things, detailing what that stone was, how it got there, and what created the mythology, how this started, which means you're not going to see what everybody else is saying is like, oh, they announced a spinoff and I want it to be Dustin and Steve, or I want it to be Robin and Steve, or I want it to be Mike looking for Elle, or, all this stuff. No. Or, since Montauk is still known to have sort of laboratory things as well, wants it to be Hopper investigating Montauk, and being same thing happening there that was happening in Hawkins. So no, that's going to be the case. It is a prequel that's going to focus on the mythology, all new characters, potentially maybe have some of the other characters roll through here, but they'll be younger. So doesn't sound as exciting as the original Stranger Things, but as I said, they just announced it, and we won't know until we actually see it. Probably won't be till at the earliest 2028, probably maybe 2027 if you're lucky, but they just announced it. And they just signed another deal with someone other than Netflix, so they probably want to work on that project first before they do this one for Netflix. So probably look more towards 2028 for that. But the animated series is coming out this year. And the minute I find out, I will let you know. No anniversaries. Not too many anniversaries this week, which is interesting. We got a lot of death though. Patty Yasutake, who played Nurse Alyssa Ogawa on the next Star Trek Next Generation, died of cancer at the age of 70. Victoria Jones, the daughter of Tommy Lee Jones, was found dead at the age of 34. John Mulroney, a stand-up comedian and radio personality, died at the age of 67. 67. That's not funny. He died. So, Yuen Chung Yan, a legendary martial artist and a legendary martial arts actor, died at the age of 69. Did Kung Fu Hustle and Once Upon a Time in China. Lee Da Sol, also known as Dadua, a Korean beauty influencer, died at the age of 29. Diane Crump, the first woman to ride a horse in a horse race and became the first female jockey to race in the Kentucky Derby. She passed away. U.S. Senator Ben Nighthorse Campbell, the first and only Native American congressperson, passed away at the age of 92. And beloved Grandma Mary, TikTok personality, died at the age of 98 this week. It's January 1st passed this week, or passed today, and as usual, January 1st, a lot of copyright expired. I know Nancy Drew is one of those. He's notable. Betty Boop. Okay, so let's see if I can read. The Little Engine That Could. The first cartoon with Betty Boop. The first versions of Mickey's dog, Pluto. The first 4 months of the Blondie comic strips with Dagwood. All Quiet on the Western Front, the movie that came out in the 30s. All this is copyright has expired on it, so you can do whatever you want with it. Animal Crackers, the Marx Brothers movie. But Not For Me, music by George Gershwin. That was in some Dream a Little Dream also is in copyright. Public domain, excuse me. Those are the only big ones that they said. Yeah. There are some books also. I don't know why they didn't do more of the books. So, As I Lay Dying from William Faulkner. Dashiell Hammett's The Maltese Falcon novel. The first Miss Marple novel from Agatha Christie is in the public domain now. The first Nancy Drew mystery is in the public domain now. The first Dick and Jane is in the public domain now. Noel Coward's play Private Lives. T.S. Eliot's poem Ash Wednesday. There's a bunch of other stuff you probably have never heard of. The Little Engine That Could. I didn't know about that. Some Ellery Queen stuff. Destry Rides Again. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that Franz Kafka's The Castle. Interesting. All Quiet on the Western Front, the movie, entered the public domain for the 1930s. Animal Crackers, I talked about that already. Laurel and Hardy's Another Fine Mess. Soup to Nuts, an early iteration of the Three Stooges. Alfred Hitchcock's films Juno and the Paycock and Murder, which I've never heard of before. As I said, there's a bunch of stuff in here, but it's stuff you've never heard of before. I'm trying to find something that people would know and recognize. So there's a lot of stuff out there. So I think I'm going to probably end here because I don't want to keep it going. But yeah, stuff in the 1930s now is starting to come here. So got a lot of interesting stuff rolling here in the public domain. So there we go with that. So basically just means you can take any of those and you don't have to pay any copyright stuff if you want to do something like that with them. Sorry. Amazon is having big success with the Fallout TV show. The newest episode came out on Wednesday. The debut of Macaulay Culkin's character was in there, and we had Kumail's character as well in this episode. It was another okay episode. And also the new Percy Jackson came out this week as well. But I want to talk about Fallout. It's a big hit for Amazon. It's 95% on their Rotten Tomatoes or whatever you want to call it. It is whatever. So Amazon, these are now rumored. These are two rumors that have not been substantiated, but makes sense if Amazon wants to stay in the Fallout business. First up, Amazon is discussing a reality show based upon Fallout's general idea about these vaults and doing stuff like that with Fallout shelters and stuff like that. So they're talking about a reality show that's sort of based about Fallout. Now they did Netflix did one for Squid Game, a reality show for Squid Game, so it'd probably be similar with Fallout. And then a Fallout spinoff, not really a spinoff, but another series set in the Fallout universe is said to be in early pre-production, which take a look at some of the other vaults and deal with a whole new group of characters and stuff like that. So that seems to be coming down the line as well. January 1st, 2026 was the actually was at midnight on that date. Video Killed the Radio Star played for the last time on MTV as MTV shut down officially. Now, for those of us who've been MTV fans, you know MTV actually technically shut down right around 2000, and they stopped playing videos, and it started becoming just more of a reality TV show. Sometimes, regular TV show like they did the Scream TV show and a few others as well. And just kept the MTV name because everybody knew it, but there was no music videos on it. They still did the VMAs, Video Music Awards, even though you didn't see any of the videos on MTV. So technically the actual real MTV that we know with videos and concerts and, the spring break stuff and stuff like that, that was ended around the early 2000s. And it's just been sort of on life support. It has now officially been pulled the plug. There is no more MTV. So started 1980, 1981, and ended in 26. So 40 some years. Again, only about 20, 25 of those really were when MTV was music television. Calypso is a tropical sort of lemonade sort of thing going on. And they're having water mixes coming out here soon. And Airheads Extreme are also going to have water mixes coming out in the new year. Curse of the Ghost Pirate and started filming. I think I talked about that last week. North Carolina's Lunuana tribe has now officially been federally recognized after 137 years of trying. A brand new marsupial was discovered in Australia with ears that are bigger than its face, which is crazy. It looks adorable, the pictures they showed of it. Peeps continue to experiment with flavors. They don't always succeed, and they have some really wild ones. The newest ones we have coming up, we have Sunny D Peeps. Sunny D is like a orange juice drink sort of thing, but not quite orange juice. And a strawberry Pop-Tart flavored Peep is also set to debut in the next few weeks as well. At Disney World, there is, actually it's more like Universal, there is an Indiana Jones stunt show. Friend I went to high school with, Amy, she worked that for a long time. I think she met her husband there on the stunt show. She's now retired from it, but it's still going on. So apparently this week, someone was injured when a 400-pound fake boulder hit them during the stunt show. It's not supposed to, but it did. They're okay, but still 400 pounds rolling down at you, hitting you is pretty rough. I have my issues with Ghostbusters too. I don't think it's a terribly good sequel. It has its moments, but it's not terribly great. But there is a sequence in it where the Ghostbusters are looking into the sewer and they see a river of pink slime flowing in the sewer like water. Oh, it's the pipes. So the movie takes place Christmas to New Year's season, and the finale is on New Year's Eve. They created a Ghostbusters 2 River of Slime 5-hour ambient video. So, if you go to YouTube, and actually before I'm doing my laundry right now, before I did my show, I had ambient music. So it wasn't really ambient music. It's a cozy jazz Christmas cafe. and it's an 11-hour video that you play in the background, and it plays music over and over again. That's sort of the ambient thing. And I have one for Interstellar, and there's a few other ones I do as well. This one is sort of like that, a 5-hour ambient video of just the pink slime going, just flowing under in the sewers. I don't know if there's any music attached to it. Usually ambient probably does have some sort of music attached to it, but it's a 5-hour video. I don't know if it's on YouTube. I might look it up after I finish the show. I should have done it before I did the show, but I just wanted to get on with it. I think I've seen this story before, and they always seem to redo it every few months or whatever, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's crazy. Or maybe it keeps happening because, people are stupid. McDonald's employee suffers serious burns on their hand after reaching into the the fryer to reach the earbuds that fell out of his ears. So basically, they're working the French fries with the boiling oil, and an earbud pops out and goes into the fryer. I need my earbud, not knowing that is boiling hot oil, reaches into the fryer, and I don't even know if he got it, and he severely burned his hand. That's all I gotta say about that. Oh, dynamic weather is set to return to Fortnite. They've in previous seasons, they've had tornadoes, they've had thunder and lightning hit. So apparently in this new season, they're going to bring back tornadoes. They're going to bring back lightning. They've had rain before, but it really wasn't a major thing. And I never really saw it because it was only in like the cities, and it was my effects thing didn't really show it too well. They're doing fog, which is going to be really cool. We've done fog. They've done fog before for the Halloween event back in season 4, chapter 2, season 4. They're going to do blizzards, and they're doing wind gusts. So it's going to make the game a little bit more interesting if they can do that. Now we've had Florida Man. Canada saw that, says we got to one up them. Canada Man was filmed riding a bear while drinking maple whiskey. He was riding a bear, drinking maple whiskey. How much more Canadian can you get? Albania appoints Diella, was the world's first AI government minister. Is actually the Minister of State for Artificial Intelligence. It is a real position in the Albanian government run by an AI and ChatGPT that deals with the state of AI in Albania, run by someone made of AI. I'll do that less. Tron Ares hits Disney Plus January 7th, whatever. If you didn't want to see it in the movie theaters, want to wait till it gets on Disney Plus, well, there you go. 550-pound bear who's living in the crawl space at a California home refuses to leave his home, even though the owners don't want him there. But he's a 550-pound bear, so he can have what he wants. George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Matt Damon, Don Cheadle, Julia Roberts are all set to return for a new Oceans film. The story supposedly is going to be, unless this was a joke headline, is going to be, can they do one last heist being old? So we'll see. Shrinking is a show that I kind of want to get into. It looks kind of interesting, but it's on Apple Plus TV, and I don't want to do that. It's got sort of a Ted Lasso quality. Brett Goldstein is in it, and he's one of the writers of it. But it's Harrison Ford, and it's I can't think of the actor's name, but he was on How I Met Your Mother. And this season is going to introduce Michael J. Fox as a character as well, which is kind of good. But the season 3 trailer debuted this week. The new season starts January 28th. Harrison Ford has nothing but good things about it. He says he's having the time of his life doing this show. So it's great to see him doing this crazy show. A new Winnie the Pooh movie is in the works. I think I talked about that before as well. Terrell Suggs and Marshall Yanda, 2 former Ravens, have made the cut for the second year in a row to be in the top 25 of the Hall of Fame. So now they just got to get over that hump and get into the Hall of Fame. Hopefully they will. Flossie is now the world's oldest cat at the age of 30, officially. And here's my other one. I talked about my Ravens theory. I'll talk about that as well, about how the season is lining up to be similar to the Ravens 2012 Super Bowl run. This one's about the Seattle Seahawks. So this would ruin the Ravens theory if this one was true also. So you got 2 sort of theories that are running against each other. So one of them is going to succeed and one of them is not. So we'll see what happens. In this case, it's a little bit more straightforward. When a new pope is elected, like was elected last year, and there have been 2 in this century, the Seattle Seahawks have won 13 plus games the previous 2 years where a new pope was introduced. This year, or the 2024 season, which is still going on right now, the Seattle Seahawks have won 13 plus games again. A new pope was introduced. They've won 13 plus games. The next step is, and they also make the Super Bowl. Now they won one and they lost the other one. So when the new pope is elected, the Seattle Seahawks win 13 plus games and make the Super Bowl. It's happened twice so far. They won 1 Super Bowl during that time and they lost one, but they made the Super Bowl both times and won 13 plus games both times. This 2024, a new pope was sworn in. The Seattle Seahawks have won 13 plus games. They are actually the number 1 seed in the NFC now, and they potentially could go to the Super Bowl this year as well. We will find out. They are the number 1 seed, so they get the bye for the first week, so they don't have to play for 2 weeks. So that's good. So we'll see which theory works in about a month or so. It might be longer than that. Now we're getting to some anniversaries. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, 58 years ago this week. I think that's from 2025. Looney Tunes, this is this year. Looney Tunes debuted 97 years ago this year. The final Calvin and Hobbes cartoon debuted 30 years ago this year. So that was interesting. Those are those anniversaries. Deaths. Richard Smallwood, a legendary gospel singer, passed away. Meyer Gottlieb, a Holocaust survivor. After he survived the Holocaust, he went to Hollywood and he started Samuel Goldwyn Films, produced such films as Master and Commander, stuff like that. He died at the age of 86. Tatiana Scherling, who is the daughter of Caroline Kennedy and the granddaughter of John F. Kennedy, passed away at the age of 35. Isaiah Whitlock Jr., a character actor who was in The Wire and Veep and Spike Lee movies, and I think is from Maryland, passed away at the age of 71. Brian Moss, a Ravens ball boy, died at the age of 16, which is terrible. All right, we're down to our final kind of half page here. Texas Tech Basketball has signed a 7'1" female basketball player to their college team. Happy birthday. Well, yesterday, the 3rd of January. Happy birthday to the lovely Florence Pugh. She turned 30 this year. And J.R.R. Tolkien, his birthday was also January 3rd. He turned 134 years old today. He's also dead. He died in 1973 when I was born. What the hell is that? I've been doing pretty good, and this one I can't tell. New comic book. Firestorm. That's what it is. Firestorm to get a new comic book as part of the DC, as I talked about earlier. This is kind of another comic book thing. Greg Rucka is set to return to Batwoman, who he created. He last was on the book back in 2009 and was sort of abruptly removed from the book. And he had a whole storyline already plotted out for the next year and was never able to do it. Well, part of the new DC leveling up thing, they're doing a new Batwoman book. And they decided, let's get him back on here. So Greg Rucka is coming back to Batwoman. He's going to be able to finish the story arc that he wants to and continue to write it. I think I talked about this last week. Chevy Chase was in an 8-day coma after a heart failure. Mountain Dew is set to release a brand new exclusive to Casey's, which I don't know what the fuck a Casey's is. I don't think there's anyone around us. Set to debut May 2026. It's Blackberry Citrus. Could be an interesting one, but I'm not going to be able to try it because I don't think I have a Casey's around me. That's going to be the last story of the week. I had no idea what this one is. Oh, the Dutch have shifted to a 32-hour work week, and they are allowed to have Fridays off. And the workforce has been much happier. They're more productive, and it's never going to happen in the United States. Ski patroller dies from injuries at Mammoth Mountain Avalanche. The Talisman adaptation of the Peter Straub Stephen King book that the Duffer Brothers were going to do for Netflix is now dead again. The Duffer Brothers had moved on to something else. They just couldn't get into it, and so it's dead again. So there's no Talisman coming anytime soon. Beyonce has been decided to become a billionaire according to Money Magazine, stuff like that. She is now a billionaire, so good on that. The Last of Us season 3 are recasting Danny Ramirez's character. Danny Ramirez plays the Falcon in the MCU. He's too busy with the MCU, and they're getting ready to start filming The Last of Us season 3, so they need to recast because he's too busy filming the MCU. Macaulay Culkin and his brother Kieran Culkin dressed up as their Home Alone characters for a Christmas party. Already talked about that. Timo Tjahti is set to direct what is that? Saving Lives, I guess. No, Simu Liu. I'm sorry. Simu Liu, who played Shang-Chi in Sleeping Dogs, which is based on a video game. Yep, my clothes are done. Northern Colorado beats Colorado in basketball for the first time since 1936. Mike Flanagan, director of The Life of Chuck, The Haunting of Hill House, Dr. Sleep, is doing the Carrie adaptation for Amazon next year, and famous for his Netflix miniseries like Midnight Mass, stuff like that. Just found out he's a Towson University alumnus, which is the university that my wife went to, my dad went to, my mom went to, my sister looked at, my sister-in-law works at, and is about 5 minutes from my grandmother's, from my mother's house where I grew up. He was a member of the class of 2002, and they are doing a celebration of his career by showing the life of Chuck there. But I did not know he was an alumnus. So I was like, that can't be right. So I went onto Wikipedia, and sure enough, it was right there. 7.0 magnitude earthquake hits Taiwan. This isn't a funny Florida man story, but this is a Florida man story. Florida man kills his wife, mortally wounds his stepdaughter, then kills himself after an argument over Monday Night Football. So the stepdaughter, I guess, wanted to watch something else. The Monday Night Football game was a blowout. There was no reason to keep watching it. She asked if she could see something else, and he said no, I guess, and she still changed the channel, and he lost it, got his gun, shot her, but didn't kill her. The wife came to try to say, what the hell are you doing to my daughter? Killed his wife, and then killed himself after seeing all that. It is a sad, terrible, awful story that should have never have happened. Before I hit the final story of the week, I'm going to hit some anniversaries. Death one anniversary. The Faculty debuted on Christmas 27 years ago in 1995. Deaths: Bahrain Bazine, a pioneer of Iranian film, died at the age of 87. Melanie Watson, who was a handicapped girl who was on different strokes. She died at the age of 57. And the big death, this actually was in the end of 2025. So this is not the first big death of 2026, but it was the last big death of 2025. Bridget Bardot, sex pot actress from the 1930s and 40s, and is in, and even the 50s, I guess, is in the We Didn't Start the Fire song from Billy Joel, but is a sex symbol. She, back in the old days, died at the age of 91 this week. So she was the final big actor to die in 2025. We lost a ton of people, almost as bad as 2016. We'll see what 2026 has to offer us. So far, nothing. Excuse me. Yep, so nothing going on here. So, the Duffer Brothers, this was on Threads. The Duffer Brothers' next projects after Stranger Things Tales from 85, The Burrows, and Something Very Bad is going to happen. So don't know what's going on with those. We'll find out more about those, I guess. They're no longer a part of Netflix, so it'll be something else. All right. Final story of the first week of 2026, and it's a doozy. Man sues Outback Steakhouse after one of their toilets shattered and collapsed after he used it. He is suing for bodily injury and harm. No, he's probably going to win too. That is the end of the first episode of Dylan Knows in 2026. I thought it's fantastic to start on an even number, 640. If I do 52, I think I talked about this last week. If I do 52 episodes, this was 52, so it'll be 51. The end of December will be 691, but I will have an extra, at least one extra show, my Oscar show. So let's just say 692. So I will not end on an odd number or an even number. Well, it is an even number, but not like a 640 or a 5 or whatever. But I did start the year off with episode 640. So that's good. I was trying to do a couple of episodes for my list show. I still might do at least one of them, the top movies I watched in 2025. I really can't do the top 30 movies of 1990. Yeah, I guess I could. I still could do some of those. So I still might do some list shows. Well, no, it wouldn't be 30 anymore because the 30 years later is now, no, I'm sorry, 35 years now would be 91 and 30 would be 96. It wouldn't be 95. So I can't do like the top 30 movies of 1995. I think I already did that one. Regardless, I just, so I probably can't do that, but I will probably do my top films of 2025 maybe tomorrow because the Ravens don't play till 8:20. I got really nothing else going on tomorrow, so maybe I'll do that. So maybe you'll see me again tomorrow at this time. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. It's good to be back. And let's hope that 2026 is a whole hell of a lot better than 2025. Thanks for watching, gang, and we'll see you on the flip side. Go Ravens.